What's happening, guys? Kenny here again, and today I've got a follow-up video, and what I'll be following up on today is this CRK Inkosi. For those of you guys that know what's going on, we had a HRC and PMI testing on this knife, and there was a little bit of funniness with the PMI testing, and I had then a subsequent video that was saying I took that first HRC video down until we figured out what was going on with this with respect to Tim Reeve and Christopher Reeve Knives. So I wanted to go ahead and figure that out first, and then we'll go ahead and give you guys the results and let you know what's going on with it. And this was just out of respect for them and to find out what's really going on, because I don't want to put any misinformation out there and have people, making speculations and stuff like that that are not valid. So yeah, that's why we did this, and I just want to follow up with that and let you know what happened. I'll try and keep this video relatively short, and we all know how that goes. So first things first, I want to say thanks to Tim Reeve, and he so what happened originally was I released the video talking about this, and then we were also chatting about what it could be and why that could have been. And even in my original video, I think I mentioned the fact that we talked about a blast, that it could have been their bead blast that they do to it, that it embedded aluminum into the surface, also with like silicone or something like that. So we wanted to, that was the initial thing that we thought it was. Kurt said it, and right off the bat, he was like, the only thing I could think of is the blast they do on the scales. That's the only thing I could think of that would cause that. So we had already assumed that might be the issue. And I even might have mentioned it in the original video. I'm gonna re-release the video with some notes made to it, and probably just right off the bat just say exactly what it is. So yeah, so in saying that, that was the impression we initially got, was what we thought it was. And then from there, Vinny from NeroKnives actually got in contact with Tim Reeve, because he somewhat personally knows him and has dealt with him before. So he contacted Tim. Tim then said, I want to talk to Kenny, and I spoke with Tim, and Tim was very responsive. He did an excellent job. Just he didn't like get defensive or anything. He was just like, I can't believe that. Let's find out what's going on. Whatever we need to do, can we send your knife to Niagara? And I said, I'm fine sending my knife wherever it needs to go to figure out what's going on. But, first things first, Tim said, I don't want you to send the knife to me. They're going to think that I'm just going to be subjective and not give them the true results and stuff like that. He doesn't want it to be any kind of negative thought towards that we're doing something to, negatively or positively give positive results or negative results. We want it to be impartial. So he was like, let's send it to Niagara, my supplier. And I said, wait a second, bro, that's not impartial either. That people are gonna think, including me, they're gonna think that Niagara is gonna tell you whatever they can in order to keep you buying from them. So in saying that, Tim was like, yeah, you're right about that. We need an impartial third party. He said I could even send it to Crucible. Maybe Crucible could test it for us. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. But what about Kurt? Kurt, he was like, he had actually said, like, let's have Kurt test it again. We'll remove some steel. Because first things first, Tim said, like, it's got to be our blast. That's, when we told Tim about it, Tim said the same thing. He goes, it's got to be the blast that we do. CRK does a blast to all their scales and gives it that texture. It's a bead blast is what they call it. It is a type of material they use that actually projects. It's projected at with PSI, usually with air, and it's actually projected with compressed air into the part, and it gives it that texture. It's kind of like a sand blast, but instead of using sand, you use a different material. There's a lot of different materials that they use in bead blasting, and what CRK uses is aluminum oxide, which is a very well-known blasting material, and they use it, the media they use, and the media, that is a very, very, not only does it it properly, not only is it very effective and do a good job, but it's also reusable many times. So it makes it a little cheaper to continue to use the same blasting media. That actually goes into a collecting, it goes back around and gets blasted again. So aluminum oxide is capable of using many cycles. So that's why it's a great thing to use. There's a lot of other medias as well, but I'm not gonna get into that. So they use aluminum oxide in their blast. So he's like, that's what it's gotta be. And in saying that, what we did, because Vinny was kind of part of this whole situation, I said, okay, I'll send my knife to Kurt. Vinny was like, hold on. That's your only CRK. This is my baby. It's also a micarta inlay Inkosi, so this would be much more expensive to replace, because Tim was like, whatever we have to do to get through that code, through that original blasted layer and get into clear titanium, let's do that so that we get a clear reading. If we have to cut the freaking handle in half, we'll do that, the scale. And I said, okay, great, that's awesome. And he even offered to replace it if there's any defacing of the scale. I said, great, that's awesome. So thank you, Tim, for just, doing the due diligence, just being like, whatever we got to do to figure this out, let's do it. That's awesome, Tim. Thank you so much. Also, then Vinny goes, well, wait a second. Let me send my Sebenza 21, because he has multiple CRKs. He has probably 10, 15 CRKs, whatever he has. I don't know. So he was like, let me send one of mine, because this one needs service anyways. Let me just send this scale. And it's a plain titanium scale, so that it's a lot cheaper to replace if there's an issue. So then Vinny went ahead and sent his handle scale to Kurt. Kurt obviously initially tested it to see if it's high in aluminum as well, because that's kind of like our, that's like the control, you know what I mean? So we go ahead and so he goes ahead and tests it, and I'll put that on the screen right now. You'll see that it did come up high in aluminum. And it was at about 10% aluminum, which again, 6AL4V should be at 6% aluminum, guys. That's what the 6AL stands for. So, yeah, so it was still high, which is good. That's what we wanted to see, because it just, like mine was high. Mine was at like, I think it was 14% or something. So, yeah, so it was high in aluminum, which shows that, okay, we're seeing the same thing. Steve's came up high in aluminum as well, his 25. So we saw that, which is good. Then we went ahead and turned around. Kurt removed some material from the inside of the scale until he saw clear titanium, which I'll put that picture up right now, and you guys will see the removed material from the titanium scale. And then he tested again. And at this point, I'll go ahead and put up the results from the second test after the removed surface layer. And what you'll see is that we have 6AL4V titanium, which it's not surprising, guys. We had pretty much, we pretty much thought it was going to come up 6AL4V, and that we had figured out what the issue was. This was just to solidify what we had thought, and what everyone thought, what Kurt initially thought, what then I perceived as, yeah, that's got to be the case, and then Tim Reeve initially thought as well. So, yeah, we also had some outside input from people commenting that said, that deal with this stuff all the time, that are in the industry, and said, yeah, that's got to be it. So yeah, we found it, guys, and it's not surprising, because from what I've just from dealing with Tim, just talking to the guy, which thank you, Tim, for dealing with me, and he talked to me. We had a nice long talk, and we talked about just a lot of stuff, not just this. So thanks, Tim, for spending the time with me. Thanks for what you did as far as like just backing up your product. And then, yeah, we're stoked. And honestly, with the HRC testing, we saw that, this is at 60. We actually also tested Vinny's, and that came out at 60. Steve's 25 came out at 59, which was actually, it was 58 to 59 when that 25 was made. So right at the top of the line. And when we did the PMI on this S35VN, it actually came up more pure than any S35 or any other steel we've tested, probably. It was like dead nuts S35 with no impurities. So, And when I talked to Tim even you know, speculated that he said that they pay more. You know, they pay more for their materials to make sure that they're getting the proper material. That's why he was so dumbfounded by the reading that we found. And yeah, it shows in what we found with this. You know, this S35 was dead nuts S35, and then the HRC with their heat treat protocol and what they're doing with their heat treat. Yeah, man, 60 HRC, and it performs like a beast, guys. I was not surprised when this came up 60. The sharpening, the actual, like, it took a long time to reprofile, but the ease, once I reprofiled it, the ease in burr creation and removal and the way that it apexed, oh guys, this is on another level. The grain structure on this is refined very well. I can tell by sharpening and use. This S35VN performs probably with most M390s, if not better than most M390s I have, or M390 families. So in saying that, yeah, it's just an excellent performing S35. And that's why when I hear people say stuff like, oh, they shouldn't be using S35 anymore and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, not when you do your S35VN like this. This is on another level. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your understanding. Thank you to Tim Reeve for backing up his product. Thank you to Kurt for what you're doing, buddy. Always thank you to you. And then, yeah, thank you to Vinny from NeroKnives for, you know, providing his knife instead of mine. I'm glad I got to keep this guy because he is one of my favorite knives, if not my favorite knife. So, yeah, thanks, guys, for everything. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. I kept it relatively short, so all right, well, thanks a lot. Have a great day.